been 2 years since our last final in the Europa League against Villarreal, but it's verging on 6 years since our last domestic cup victory, a 3-2 League Cup win against Southampton. And it's the League Cup final again as United face nouveau riche Newcastle, a replay of the '99 FA Cup finale, which was the second step on our way to the treble. It's funny, with two sides with a decent silverware collection and fan base, and I don't really think it's comparable. We've never really been rivals for any sustained period of time, and I put that down squarely at the feet of the Geordies because, and this isn't being unfair, they've been pretty mediocre for almost all of the previous 5.5 decades. It's true, in the mid-90s the Magpies' attacking, exciting outfit were the ones that we locked horns with for the Premier League. However, that was just a bit of a blip, with much of the rest of the time seeing our further north neighbours being very much a yo-yo club. The only other time I can think of where we both were at a high level was during the 1950s, where we had the Busby Babes with 3 league titles and 3 charity shields, and Newcastle had its 3 FA Cup wins. However, this match could be the foreshadowing of things to come. On our side, the Dutch Revolution has begun. Whilst the side is far from the finished article, there are a few Reds fans who aren't impressed with the transformation of a side that were rock bottom as a dressing room and a host of other metrics this time last season. On the Newcastle side, I think they've surprised everyone too. There was a lot of justified criticism that came their way when the club was bought essentially by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the camel train of baggage that came with it. Probably already assessing how not to do it as demonstrated by our city neighbours, the St.James Park club has installed a very competent English manager and not splashed the cash widely on acquisitions. They've spent some money on quality like Kieran Trippier, but they understand that this process is a transition. Entering to the Champions League when attained, possibly the season, will give them a gravitas that they can build upon. However, right now this could be the first step of a brand new northern rivalry. Let's have a look at the side's history in the competition. The League Cup took us a while to nail down. Only 30 years after its inception did we finally win it, and then that was after 2 failed attempts in 1983 and 1991. That said, it's the only cup competition that we've retained in 2009 after our 2008 win. And apart from our inaugural victory in 1992, we've picked it also up in 2004 and for the last time, as I mentioned, in 2017 under Jose Mourinho, the same year we won the Europa League. The Geordies, on the other hand, have still yet to win the trophy, which isn't too much of a surprise, as their last major domestic cup success came before the competition was even conceived of. The closest was a solitary League Cup final appearance in 1976 when they lost to Man City, which is ironically the last trophy the Blues didn't pay for. Form-wise, both sides have achieved a lot more than their respective sets of fans had thought probable by this time in the season. Both are challenging for Champions League spots and both are capable of beating any side in the top tier on their day. After arguably one of the worst seasons in our history last year, maybe not in our final position but more in terms of performance and the attitude of the players, it's all turned around since Erik ten Hag's arrival. The Dutchman is a master tactician and man manager with a strong emphasis on discipline. Despite a tricky start to the season, the Red Devils have gone on from strength to strength, beating City, Liverpool and Arsenal amongst others. The squad now has a strong bond galvanised by the passion and ability of its 2 newcomers, Casemiro and Lisandro Martinez. Another, Christian Eriksen, will miss out due to injury, but he should be replaced by Marcel Sabitzer. But it's not just been the newcomers that have impressed. Almost all the squad looks to be revitalised and brimming over with confidence. Players that were on the United scrap heap last season, especially Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Diogo Dalot and even Luke Shaw, look like they have a place in the side again. However, there's not been a bigger turnaround in fortunes than for Manc lad Marcus Rashford. It may seem like a million years ago now, but before the new gaffer's arrival, Marcus Rashford was stiff, gloomy looking, and there was clearly something affecting his mental state. Now he looks like the best player in the Premier League, a weight seems to have been lifted off his shoulders, and it's as if we've signed a brand new £100 million player at the start of the season. He's scored in every round of the competition so far. Creatively, Bruno is hitting a really rich vein of form, in his best season since the first one after he joined. He's also de facto taken the captain's armband with pride from club skipper Harry Maguire, who's currently out of favour, and has really become a leader of men. Previously mentioned Luke Shaw looks comfortable at full-back or even centre-back now, and is ahead of Maguire. There's also some vibrancy on the wings with Sancho, Antony and Garnacho, although they're still all looking for that sort of consistency we expect. On loan, Wout Weghorst is leading the line up front, and he's been criticised by some superficial pundits and fans as he doesn't score enough. And it's true, he doesn't convert enough of his chances, but he does so much more than that, and is consistently picked by the boss in a winning side. United plays slick and well organised with a lot of heart, a far cry from 12 months ago, and the boys will go into the final as deserved favourites. As mentioned already, the Magpies have also come a long way too. After surviving last season once their new Saudi owners came along, they've put their money to good use, avoiding the pitfalls from Manchester City's owner, whose demand for immediate success at the Etihad at any price looks like it may have come at a cost far too dear to be justified. The last official trophy that Newcastle won was the Intercity Fairs Cup in 1968, which is as legit as it sounds. Not even being a UEFA backed competition, it barely counts as silverware. However, with careful managing and backed with petrodollars, this club will undoubtedly be the new player in major competitions for many years to come and will be fighting them for signing elite transfers, no doubt. Eddie Howe's arrival was a smart move, a good English manager who has been supported but not pressurised with having a series of blank cheques to spend on dud players or panic buys. Chelsea and Graham Potter take note. Instead, Newcastle invested in a top-class keeper, Nick Pope. More about him momentarily, but out of the 3 other big money spent in the summer, only one, Sven Botman, has played in excess of 20 matches. Kieran Trippier will almost certainly be a big threat from free kicks in and around the edge of the area, and Miguel Almiron, who has been at the club for 3 years now, looks to be the side's biggest threat to us, being the Geordies' leading goal scorer with 10 goals this season. Going back to Nick Pope, as you probably already know, as it's been well publicised, he did us a solid by getting himself sent off in the recent home defeat that was inflicted by the Scousers and so misses the final, which meant it should be second choice Martin Dubrovka in goal. But he's cup-tied after featuring in a pair of erratic performances in our cup run to the final in this competition. The Slovak will actually claim a winner's medal if his parent club loses the final, and so that leaves infamous ex-Liverpool keeper Loris Karius up for a recall by Eddie Howe, who really doesn't have a choice. Newcastle have been amongst the hardest sides to beat in the Premier League this term, and with the current demise of Chelsea and Liverpool as well as Spurs, top 4 looks like a real possibility. Looking at the road to Wembley, and United couldn't have had a much better route. No big sides and all matches at home, barring the 2-legged semi-final of course. 4-2 win over Aston Villa after being outplayed at their place in the league in the previous game was as tough as it got. Go behind twice before finally showing them a clean pair of heels. Championship side Burnley, way ahead at the top of their league, odds on for promotion were next, and they were summarily dismissed 2-0. This scoreline was improved upon in the quarter-finals against struggling Charlton, also from the second tier as we earned a decisive 3-0 win, although we did leave it late to make sure. A kind draw in the semi-finals with the first at the City Ground saw us achieve as comprehensive a victory as we had had at any stage of the competition, with a straightforward 3-0 win. With the job pretty much done hosting Forest in the second leg at Old Trafford, it was a formality, and this allowed the boss to rest several first-teamers. Another 2-0 victory eased us into the final 5-0 on aggregate. Newcastle's route to Wembley was almost as trouble-free, as opponents on paper were concerned. No heavyweights and most matches being played at St. James's Park. Entering a round earlier due to their lack of European involvement, the only away fixture that they've had in the competition was at 4th tier Tranmere Rovers, where a narrow 2-1 victory was achieved. The rest of their fixtures were against struggling Premier League sides. Bournemouth were dispatched 1-0 in round 3, and Leicester were overpowered 2-0 in the quarters. The reward for that win over the Foxes was a straightforward semi-final tie against consistently bottom 3 this season, Southampton. Like their Manchester opponents, the Magpies did the hard work away, leaving St Mary's with a 1-0 advantage. The Saints tried to make it hard for the Geordies in the second leg, pulling one back after the home side racing to a 3-0 aggregate lead, but not even when Newcastle went down to 10 men could their resolve be broken, winning the match 2-1. 3-1 on aggregate. So, will we be cheering or drowning our sorrows on Sunday evening? Well, in Newcastle's favour, they've had far fewer games to contend with, playing only 3 matches this month. That said, the Geordies have won 1 league game since Boxing Day. Morale can't be as good as it was earlier in the season, surely. With Newcastle's demise, in the meantime, United have strengthened their position, overtaking the St. James's Park club and consolidating a lead in 3rd spot. Maybe they've had one eye on the final, but when going for Champions League places, that's unforgivable. This leapfrogging of the Magpies has come with 7 matches in the same period for the Red Devils, incurring only 1 defeat, a last-minute heartbreak against Arsenal. Due to various suspensions, Casemiro should be fresh, as should Martinez and Sabitzer, who both missed the trip to the Camp Nou. Obviously I'm biased, but we are in form, especially as we just went through against Barcelona to the knockout round proper of the Europa League, and everyone is playing with a smile on their faces, so how can I predict anything but United win? Now with Pope out too and Karius on the cards, that's a few more percentage points of probability in our direction surely. I believe that a win in normal time by 2 goals, either 2-0 or 3-1, isn't beyond the realms of reality. But at this point, after this dearth of silverware, I'd gladly take a 90th minute Geordie own goal for a 1-0 win. So there's my review of the 2023 League Cup final between United and Newcastle. What do you think? Do you agree with my observations, or have I missed out some key points? Let me and everyone else know by writing the comments below, and if you can, please like, share and subscribe. It'd really help me out. Thanks as always for your support.